Hi, I'm Jessica. Welcome to Youniverse Coaching. I wanted to do this video just as a quick overview for anyone who may be interested in going down the Youniverse Coaching path and kind of answer a few questions and give a little insight as to what I do as a coach. You may see me refer to my handy little list. I'm a list girl, so it's just to make sure that I don't miss any of the important bullet points so that I cover everything. The first thing that I want to mention is if you've made it this far, congratulations. That's wonderful. It says to me that you're ready to make a change, and whether that's with me or someone else, that's a wonderful thing to come to the conclusion of. So congratulations on that. My tagline on my site is taking you from where you are to where you want to be, and really I chose that because that's generally the question that my clients come to me with. It's, here I am at this point in my life and I really want to reach this point in my life and I'm not sure how to get these goals accomplished. And this is what my role is as far as your coach is. Then there's several different ways that we go about doing that. The first thing that I generally touch on, and it really is an important aspect of the entire coaching process, is the power of the mind and perception. The way you perceive things about yourself and the world around you is really ultimately what makes up your reality. So if things aren't flowing quite in the right direction for you, it could merely, and most of the time really is, just a matter of your perception and how you're viewing things. And those are things that come from our childhood experiences, our subconscious mind, how we are programmed, if you will, from the time we're small children. Your subconscious mind works perfectly. It never shuts off. It's continually going whether you're awake or asleep. And it's always processing. You may actually go to sleep tonight and dream about some things that happened during the day that maybe you were paying attention to, maybe you weren't. And, it's going to affect the way that your mind is actually processing things regardless, because it's part of your environment. So some of those things we want to allow in, and some of those things we don't, and some of those things have gotten in that really don't belong there. There's a lot of useful information. You may have learned not to touch a hot stove as a small child by singeing your finger, and although that's a painful experience, and I don't suggest that's the way you learn things subconsciously, it was an experience that you didn't forget. So your brain, and especially your subconscious brain, really works perfectly. And I find that a lot of people that I do coach have been in some form of therapy or another, and I may be going against the grain here as far as psychology and psychiatrists and other forms of therapists, but the general gist of that type of therapy is, okay, here's how you're broken and here's how we're going to fix it. And I just tend to not believe that, especially with the studying and the degrees that I've gotten and the path that I chose. I don't believe that any of us are broken. I think that your brain works perfectly. It does its job. It's a well-oiled machine. It's better than any computer that you've ever used. It's better than the computer that you're on now. It can process and reprocess, and it can decide whether you want it to or not, to retain things or not retain things. So that's really one of the most important issues that we deal with, is what is it that you've picked up along the way that you really don't need anymore? It's not serving you. It's not making any type of useful, positive change for you. What is it that we need to reprogram? And the good point is, behind all of that, is your brain can be rewired. Now, I'm not talking about some scientific process here where we do a lobotomy or anything like that. I'm talking about you can take the negative things that you don't want that are programmed in there and learn to redo them. And that's a really important thing. That's actually the most wonderful part of this process. So I wanted to mention, you see those ads that say clean your PC. Well, that's what I want to do is figure out, we want to defrag. We want to figure out what it is that you've picked up that you're not quite using as useful information. And sometimes you may not know what that is, but through processing, it's easy to figure out. We just figure those things out. And then we're going to reprogram and figure out how to make things more optimal for you. And that is a little bit of a dedication. It does take practice. It took you however many years you've been on this earth to learn what you've learned now. So you have to understand that there is a process. And a lot of it can be done on your own once you learn exactly how to do that. So we've talked about perceptions. It affects your circumstances, your situations, the social events that you attend, the people that you have in your life. It affects your career, your finances, your relationships, all of them actually. It's it affects everything in your life. So really, that's the main point. Is we don't want you to be continually stuck in this energy that's not serving its purpose anymore. We want to move past this energy and figure out what it is that bothers you and figure out why it bothers you and move on. And I've found it's interesting, a lot of people will take the time to spend money and valuable time on such things as cosmetics or clothing or the type of car they drive, but they won't take the time really to spend that type of quality time and maybe a little bit of money on fixing their behavior and their internal processes, which really ultimately affects everything that we do. So it's probably one of the most important things that you could spend your time and money on. So keep that in mind. And I'm not saying to purchase my sessions, but if you're not going to purchase my sessions and you've decided this isn't an avenue that you want to take, by the time you're finished reading through my site and watching the video, take the time to research for yourself and figure it out, like what it is that's going to make that change for you, because it is possible. I'm a living product of it. My life has not been without struggle in the past, but I've taken a different path, fortunately, and chosen to change that. So that's good. I'm a prime example of how that works. One more thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm sure that this is going to go against the grain also, but if you have labeled yourself as a depressed person, my opinion of depression is that you are living in the past. And if you're an anxious person, then you're living in the future. And what I like to teach people is how to live in the present. Now, I'm not saying that depression isn't real. I'm not saying that anxiety isn't real. I actually battled with anxiety years ago, and I learned to completely overcome it, including some phobias. So this is also another avenue that I'm really adept at helping people with. What I'm saying is, and I understand that these come with very real physical conditions. Most energy does, most perceptions do. They come with very real physical conditions that are attached to them, but they're easily changed. So what I really like to teach people is how to live in the present, and I think that's very important. And that's another process that we do, because your brain really never shuts off, as we mentioned before, but neither does that internal dialogue. That internal dialogue, you're always speaking to yourself. So, keep that in mind. We're going to train your mindset in a different way. And ultimately, it changes every outcome in your life. You'll begin to see shifts and changes in very positive ways that maybe you didn't expect. And this is not all mumbo jumbo. This is science. It's been documented. It's in some of the most famous books that have ever been written by some of the most successful people. So actually, I intend to post my master's thesis onto the site so that I can document some of those books. It's in the bibliography, and you can read all about how these famous, successful, happy, positive people made it that way, and they didn't always start that way. So that's a really good piece of information you might want to download for free when I post it on the site. And I really just want to leave you with this. I don't want to get too long-winded, but if you decide that the coaching really isn't for you, I want you to ask yourself a couple of quick questions, and that is, what stops you from having the best life that you can have? What is it? What is it that you say to yourself? What do you feel about yourself? How do you view the world? And what keeps you from being fearless? Why would you put restrictions and labels on yourself? And then do the research if you find that coaching isn't what you want to do. And should you decide that you do want to coach or go through the coaching sessions and hire me, I would love to help you on your way. And I find it to be my life's passion, and I really enjoy watching people make the shifts in their life. And you can go to the contact page on the website and make sure that you put your email address in there, because it doesn't collect any personal information from you, so you'll have to physically type it in. And send me a contact email, and then we'll set up a time for a free consultation, which is the best way to get started. And it's really not invasive. You don't have to use your real name. We can do it via telephone. We can do it via Skype. which can be either telephone related or video related. Some people like to remain anonymous, and I completely understand that. All I need is your voice on the other end. So anyway, shoot me an email. It's Youniverse Coach, YOUNIVERSE, Coach, COACH, at AOL.com. And we'll get you started. And thanks again for taking a look at my website. I hope that you found this information to be helpful. Have a great day.